Have you ever been reading a celebrity pastor's blog post or listening to a famous Bible teacher and something jumps out to you and you're just like, how am I the only person seeing this thing? Why isn't anyone talking about it? Well, you're not alone. Welcome to Underdog Theology. This podcast is about looking at what's happening in evangelicalism. I'm talking tweets, I'm talking books, blogs, videos, all of it, and judging it according to Scripture. Whether that's reacting to celebrity pastors, teasing about the latest ridiculous battle in the culture war, or just having a little bit of fun together, this show is for all the folks who feel like they're on the outside looking in, who feel like they don't have a voice, who feel like they're an underdog. Welcome to Underdog Theology. What is going on, everybody? Hey, look, it's a microphone, and it says Underdog Theology on it. Isn't that cool? I think it's cool. Will I keep using it? I don't know. Look, we have things now. Isn't that cool? What's going on, everybody? Welcome to Underdog Theology, the show that's no longer a show, but still talks about itself like it is a show. Here's what we're going to do today. We're going to be talking about Calvin Robinson, because I feel like we should, and it's interesting to me. We're going to be taking a look at Joel Webbon's latest rant. Before we get into that, let me just discuss one thing that I'm noticing over the last week. All of a sudden, all these guys know Latin. Have you guys noticed that this last week? Like they're going because Vance went around. Oh, we got some people. I got sick kids today. Just we got all the coughs going on, so everybody's at home today. So it's going to be one of those kinds of shows. But they all know Latin because Vance was talking about how there's orders of love, and all of a sudden all these guys are like, I've always known this. It's just like, bro, come on, man. I have a couple of theology degrees and I've never heard of this. So I know you, coming from Calvary Chapel, have never heard of this. So stop acting like you know it. But there's that, and that's become the new thing about who should we love first? After all, isn't that what Jesus taught us? No, who cares about loving your neighbor, right? Like just who should you love the most? And then just tier rank your loves. That's what Jesus asked. Like he started going around asking people, hey, could I get your tier ranking of who you love the most in your life? Oh, your tier ranking doesn't match my tier ranking. I think it's the YouTube of theology. I think that's what's going on right now. But all those guys, if you're like, what is going on? It's because they're all fighting about how they're basically everyone's trying to get out of the whole like loving your neighbor thing, and doing unto them as you would have done to you. That just doesn't fit their paradigm anymore. So they're kind of just chucking it at this point and being like, I'm gonna love my family and the people like me the most, and that's how we'll win this culture war. I don't know. What do I know, though? I'm in Canada, and apparently you guys are all at war with me. I'm not supposed to buy U.S. products anymore. I don't want to drink any of this. Like, we got Canada Dry, but like PC Cola? I don't want to. The People's Choice? That ain't the Rock, okay? Like, this ain't the People's Champion of colas. Where's my Coke products? Like... And some other people are like, what is even that a reference to? There's a war going on, tariff war, apparently, because that's the way life is now. Hey, let's say hi to some people instead of me just ranting about all the things I've been thinking about while I've been sick. I'm still a little sick. I might have some coughing going on. But we got a bunch of people already who have said hi in the chat, but we'll also point out David, because I always have to, every time I see David, I have to click on it. It's a law, it's a requirement, and it's one that I'm not disappointed about. Pam says, hi guys, I have a Zoom meeting at the exact same time today, so I will keep the stream on in the background and hopefully join you later. Oh, that's great. You can mute. You can mute, and you know what? There's a new feature in the software stuff that I use that you could click a button and it takes a screenshot of whatever like is on the screen and then makes that into an image that it puts over everything else, what we call an overlay. And to me, that's the like, oh man, you could get out of so much stuff. Like you just go like this, screenshot, and then just you could go and do whatever you want. Is that lying? Aaron, what's up, dude? Hope you're doing well. Right? Here's the deal. The stickers are a lot bigger than I thought. I didn't measure it. I was just like, I got the small sticker and I figured that would work for this flag thing, like the box that goes around the microphone. It does not. So we just put it on a little cardboard and, it works. I like it. I really love this microphone. I hope the sound is okay because I want to use this thing all the time because I love holding a microphone. I don't know why. It just makes me feel better about myself. And at this point in the game, that's kind of all I want, like I just want to feel good about okay. Repping the merch, which you could get at redbubble.com. I'll search Underdog Theology. Okay. Also the community tab. Also in the description. No, it's not because I never put it in there. And talks about itself in the third person. I've noticed that about myself. I've been doing that since I was like 5 years old. Therapists, psychologists, you could read into that, I'm sure. But it's just the way it is. Shameless plug. I have no shame. You guys should know that at this point. Every plug is shameless because I have no shame. Shock the toast. Which, that sounds like a killer jam. Just shock the toast. All right. You need the logo on the hat and the shirt to match the mic and the mug. Logo everywhere. Someday. What's up, Wendy? Hey, dogs, at the doctor's office. I will have to listen later. Blessings. I've been praying for Yolandi's, Quentin, and Amanda, and Bob. Yeah. Nathan says, my kids are always at home, but they were sick too. Yeah, there's we got a thing. You know what's going on in my house? The biggest battle that we're waging right now is paper. We have paper everywhere because my middle son is an artist and he wants to share his art all the time, everywhere. And now he's decorating the house. And if we let him do it in his room because that's a confined space, easy to be like, okay, now it's time to throw away all these papers. And now he's hanging it everywhere. So we have paper everywhere. And my oldest took down one that he put on a light because that's not safe. and apparently that was a huge issue. So that's what we were dealing with. I had to take Latin in high school. The only Latin I took in high school was from Monty Python. So, Bob the Baptist's wife also fires in LA. See you later. Well, we appreciate that, Wendy. I appreciate you praying for all the people in the community, and especially with the fires and everything. And, a lot of those people who lost homes, their homes aren't back, guys. Like, keep praying for them. It's going to be a long road for a lot of those people. Scary Mo, the rightly ordered loves argument pairs well with their kinism. Yeah, it's very convenient, like, oh yeah, we've always held to this. Also, it's, we love our kind of people. Oh, well, it's convenient. What's up, Larry? We got Paul. I heard some guy in the basement say followers go further. What a dumb saying. Joel Webbon is a follower, not a leader, and went further than even Moscow and company could abide. Yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, everybody's following somebody. And if you ain't following Jesus, you're going to end up, pretty far in the ditch if you're putting other leaders in front of Jesus. And it seems like at this point, that's what they're good with. So, you might say that's unfair. I say that's just looking at how things have gone the last couple of years. Shock the Toast says, well, we're supposed to love God the most, so there is that. Yeah, but there's also the way that you can love God is by loving others. Like, not in that, like, others are God, but, it's one of the ways that we love God is by being a good and faithful husband, spouse, father, mother, whoever you are. I don't want to assume genders here. Shock the Toast. Shock. I'm assuming that's a guy. I think I've done this before, but I'm pretty sure. But the way that you love God is by loving others and doing as Jesus has done. And a lot of these guys are like, no, it's about voting. Wow, well, that's so good. You can't LARP love. That's great. Put that on a t-shirt. That'll sell. Ordered loves is a historic position, but it also needs to be properly applied. Yeah, but like, again, Nathan, let's be real. These guys don't know that. Like, they don't know that. They found out somebody, like, they were all on the same chain email, and somebody said that, and they're all like, they all Googled it, and they were like, checks out. And they started using it. Like, at this point, these guys have shown, like, they don't know any history. Like, they don't know their theology at all. Like, a lot of these guys didn't go to seminary. I'm just tired of beating around the bush and, like, making it be like, oh, yeah, they knew this stuff. They didn't know this stuff. Maybe, like, they heard a lecture from, like Joe Boot. Like, maybe Joe Boot said something one time and they're all like, oh, okay. But that's the first time these guys ever heard about it. So that's what I think. Jason says Pepsi and Coke products are bottled in Canada, usually your own city. Well, I've been told there's been papers that have been spread, and I've been told I'm not allowed to buy it, and I'm gonna buy it. So. Love comes from a renewed heart, not a list of instructions. It's good. This whole debate perfectly re-articulates the question that Jesus was answering when he told the parable of the Good Samaritan. Yeah, woke? Woke much? Oh, man. As you can tell, I'm not over it. Will I ever be over it? Probably not. 45 people watching. We got 18 likes. A lot of people started watching, then saw me just having fun and left. So that's cool. Tax collector, what's up, dude? Hey, Dean. Hey, underdogs. My mom passed away this morning. Please pray for our family. Absolutely, we will be praying for your family, man. We know it's been a long couple months. We've talked online about it before. I'm sorry to hear that, man. That is a unique pain. At least in my life, it's been a unique pain. And so I'm sorry for your loss, and I'm sorry for your family. We'll be praying for your family and for you as you recover and move on. It's a hard road. Dr. Ed says, I'm preaching in Chilliwack, British Columbia on February 23rd. It'll be my first time in Canada. Oh, wow. Chilliwack. That wouldn't be at a church plant, would it? I know of a church plant in Chilliwack. All right. Let's start talking about some stuff so people can, come into the stream and not get mad at me too much. Oh, he's beating around the bush. Oh, I wish he did it like every normal person, not like him. Well, oh well. All right. So you guys remember this whole thing? This thing? Like this whole like everyone else is trash and we're the only good ones thing? The conference? Well, Calvin Robinson, who is like he used to be some form of Catholic and not Catholic, then Anglican, not Anglican. It's a weird theological world over there. This is not the average Anglican. But this guy was an Anglican for a little bit, and he was going to be speaking at Joel Webbon's conference. Now, it seems like that's still going to be happening, but he got into a little bit of trouble. Last week when he went on a stage and did that. Now, yeah, I realize not everyone knows history that well, but I am assuming that everyone knows what this salute is. And I don't think that's going out on a limb. So, this is the world that we're in right now, where people do stuff like this. And these are not like some far off, well, maybe, guy somewhere off in a corner doing his own little thing. This is a guy who, has been on Fox News and CNN and big places, and has been a conference speaker, and is now going to be going down to Texas and having the conference with Right Response Ministries and Joel Webbon. And, immediately people like me would go like, wait, what? Why would you have like this form of an Anglican come and speak? And especially things that he's been saying about Mary. And we'll look at it. There's updates about this as well. Even updates from today. But he's been, Mary saves. She's a co-redeemer. He's been saying stuff like that. And Joel Webbon, who claims to be a Reformed Baptist, is okay with having him come and be a part of this conference. And it's that alone is like, what are you doing? What are you prioritizing right now? Because you guys don't preach the same gospel. So why would you have someone who doesn't preach the same gospel come in? And a lot of people were up in arms about it. Not just me, not even just people who are against Right Response Ministries. A lot of people within that camp also being like, wait, what's going on here? These would also be the people who are going with like Apology Studios and James White, and they're like there's this breaking apart that's happening right now. So they're upset about that, and I'm upset about that. But whatever. It's not my conference. I'll make fun of it from afar. But I've got no real skin in the game. And then this happens, and you go, "What?" Now he has gone on to Twitter, and a lot of people making fun of my microphone thing. Thanks from today. Dina's breaking news for us, and fitting he's holding a microphone. He's breaking news. Breaking news from my basement. You guys are gonna make me cough so much. All right. But like obviously this is messed up. But he went on to Twitter and other places and saying all he was doing was trying to show support for Elon Musk. Now, whether that's wise or not, like Elon Musk, I guess, went on a stage somewhere and did a similar gesture, and everyone was like, "That's the 1940s German salute." I don't want to say certain things because YouTube, but it's that, and I get that sometimes people do weird gestures, and it's not exactly that. So I don't really care about that. But there's controversy around that. And what this meant is that here you have some priest of some sort who is supposed to be a pastor, like he's a pastor of a parish. So he's supposed to be shepherding people. And like a lot of times we see within the celebrity culture, we see these big shot preachers going around and speaking at conferences. And you just go, how much like actual shepherding can they do? Because they're gone so often. Well, he's doing the exact same thing. And he has been told, like I guess from this is coming out from other sources now, other sources, meaning the ACC, I think, the Anglican Catholic Church, which is an oxymoron, by the way. But the Anglican Catholic Church, they put out a statement saying, like, hey, he's been talked to before and he's doing this again. So there's that. But also, he knows that there's controversy around that gesture, even if it isn't, the full on thing that people are saying, wow, and they're shocked that about that. Even if you give him the credit of being like, okay, that's not what he was doing, he was doing like this support of Elon Musk, then you purposely went up onto a stage to be controversial, right? At the very least, like it's not even just here's my perspective that is controversial, right? Like a lot of things within not just evangelical Christianity, but just like Christian world stuff, like our views about sexuality, even just the fact that there is an exclusive gospel, like stuff like that. That's very that's very controversial to a lot of people around the world. And when you get up there and you say those statements of what you believe, you will be controversial, and that's going to happen all the time. So, like, that's one thing to get up there and be controversial because of your stances, your positions. But to get up there to do just a gesture, that's really just like, I mean, just goading people, just trying to get them to react, to elicit a response. You're purposely going up on stage to offend people. That's very prideful, arrogant, I would say it's sinful to get up there and do that. Now, again, I don't think this guy preaches gospel, so I'm sure that there's a lot of other sinful things in his teachings and stuff like that. So, I'm not holding him to the same category as I would like, or to the same level as like John MacArthur or someone like that. But that's messed up. Now, that got him fired. Like that got a statement from his denomination. So this is from them. This was just what, like on Friday or Thursday or something like that. So at approximately 3 p.m. today, on the 29th, members of the College of Bishops of the ACC were made aware of a post made on X showing the end of a speech made by Calvin Robinson at the National Pro-Life Summit in Washington, D.C. In it, he closed his comments with a gesture that many have interpreted as a pro salute. While we cannot say what was in Mr. Robinson's heart, what we when he did this, his actions appear to have been an attempt to curry favor with certain elements of the American political right by provoking its opposition. Mr. Robinson has been warned that online trolling and other such actions, whether in service of the left or the right, are incompatible with a priestly vocation and was told to desist. Clearly, he is not, and as such, his license in this church has been revoked. He is no longer serving as a priest in the ACC. So he got fired. He got fired from his denomination. Now, there are lots of people that are saying like he's defrocked, that he is no longer a priest. That's not exactly how this world works, apparently. But he's kicked out. He's kicked out of the denomination. I did find it super interesting. I couldn't find the tweet, but you can look in the community um, posts, and you could see I put on a little thing, an image from that tweet. Um, like it's just so funny to me that Calvin Robinson basically was like, I'm being canceled again, because apparently anytime we do anything bad and there's any consequences for any of our own actions, it's cancellation. So he's getting canceled, and he wants to speak to the Archbishop. But as the Archbishop is not answering his calls right now, he's saying like keep on calling him or something like that. He's basically badgering this Archbishop, like basically his boss, online to get them to change their minds about this. And I find it pretty interesting that like, I wish we had this. Well, I'll just say that. Like, I'm a Baptist. I believe that the local church is the accountability for pastors. And so, if a pastor goes and does something at a conference, I think it's his local church who should be handling that accountability. So, I don't think that he should have to answer to like a higher level, like say Presbyterians or even Anglicans, apparently, have to go to like a synod or something like that and answer for their stuff. I don't believe in that. I don't think Scripture supports that. That's my position. But there's a part of me that goes like, wouldn't it be nice if we had some of this stuff for some of these, conference speakers? Like, because think about it this way: you had a pastor go and do something horrific, um, like, I mean, making that salute, like, what people are thinking. So again, trying to offend people, trying to make a name for yourself, trying to put other people down and elevate yourself. That's what he's doing. And then you have a denomination coming in and being like, yeah, we're not going to let that fly. You're fired, actually. Man, like so many of the non-denominational pastors, so many Baptists out there that we have stuff like that. What if there's a clip of Joel Webbon saying something crazy, which there is, and we will look at it later. But something like that, you could have someone come in and be like, "Yeah, that's not going to happen," and it's not about like how big a name is, because surely Calvin Robinson is the biggest name associated with this Anglican Catholic Church. Like, I would assume that he's the biggest name associated with it, but it doesn't matter to them. He's not fulfilling his job as being a pastor, and he's going there and needlessly offending people. So he's gone. And I just find that so refreshing. And it's so contrary to what we see with, some of these other guys, that I'm like, man, like, I wish churches would do this. I wish churches would take more responsibility for what pastors do outside of their own stage, and not let them get away with certain things, because this guy ain't getting away with it. But we got him coming out and saying things like this. Thank you for the charitable offer. Because here comes evangelical dark web, who watches the show, and is legit terrible with the stuff that they do online. I don't feel any shame in saying that, because I've said it multiple times, because this is the guy who went on as soon as Tim Keller died and said that he was in hell. So that's great. So that's this guy, and he's obviously taking. This is what all these guys do, by the way. As soon as, oh, do you want to come on our show? And we could do a debate about this, or we could give you some time to give your side. And we're definitely not about the clicks. We're definitely not about that. It's not about generating revenue for us, but come on our show. Okay. Thank you for the charitable offer. After the Trash World Conference, I will no longer be engaging in the space. Although my public ministry is ecumenical, I will not be giving my time to followers of a tradition that does not recognize Christ in all Christians. In other words, that thinks that, there are some people who call themselves Christians who aren't Christians. I was unaware of how sectarian and purist the Reformed lot have become. I'm going to die. Oh. You don't know anything about Reformed people then. It's I don't know if you heard about this Luther guy, but he had a lot of ideas, and there was very hard lines with Luther, and yeah, pretty much everyone who's come since within the Reformed world. Yeah, there are some hard lines, and they make a lot of differences between different sects of Christianity. For them to denounce my faith in the Lord and damn me to hell is too far. I don't know of anyone who's like gone that far, other than saying you don't preach the same gospel. But they always do that, even though they all hold to like for him being Anglican Catholic Church and his belief of Mary being, co-redeemer, all that kind of stuff. Well, they've damned a lot of evangelicals, but it's always the mean evangelicals when they come up to like Catholics and people like that and say like, "Hey, you guys think we're all heretics." And that's no, actually, I think you might have a heretical position here. And they're like shocked. How dare you? You said the same thing about me. Okay. I want nothing to do with this sect or its bad fruit. There are millions of Christians out there who disagree with each other, but are still able to call each other brethren. My time will go to them. Thank you anyway. So, in other words, he has never branched out other than like Anglican world. And now he's realized what evangelicals think. And also, what some of these reform guys are about. And again, reformed. This is not the actual reformed world. This is the reformed world of following people like Right Response Ministries. So apparently, after Trash World, he's going to be done speaking to this world. Some might say his career might already be done, but who knows? If Mark Driscoll can make a comeback, maybe Calvin Robinson can too. But he has been fired, and Joel Webbon's fine with having him still at the conference. Nothing changes. Nothing changes from that world. They're fine with it, and I want you to think about that. I want you to think about how far does someone have to go in this world for them to be taken off the list of people that they can profit from, right? Like you got a guy going up and giving. I don't know. YouTube might do stuff, but you got a guy going up and doing like Nazi salutes on stage, and that's not a bridge too far. Like every time that you go, like, because a couple years ago, here's how it went. A couple of years ago, people were starting to make the connections between some of what people like Right Response Ministries, and with that, also take in like Brian Sauvé, Eric Kahn, that branch, whatever his face, John Harris, the guy who wrote the Christian nationalism book, Wolf. Starting with those guys, starting to make some of the connections between what they were saying and kinism and the idea of like you love your race. And when you love your race, you're hating other races, right? Like, so, like, there's people started making those connections. And at first I was like, you guys can't say that. You guys can't say that. You have to wait for them to actually go that far. And now they are. They just consistently go that far now. And they just keep on showing their hand, like all the stuff with that Stone Choir podcast, and the reason why there was even that statement, the Antioch Declaration, all that kind of stuff. You start to piece together that, yeah, there might be something to this. And if a guy going up on a stage and giving a Nazi salute isn't a bridge too far, then I don't think there is a bridge too far. I think you're just, hey, as far as we can go, as many followers as you have, it's all about, name recognition at this point. The idea that any marketing is good marketing, that you could just get your name and your conference out there as much as possible. And if that means having to appease some of the racists within your camp, well, again, I'm not saying, I don't know. I guess I shouldn't give them that much credit, but I would like to believe that these guys are not this way personally. Like that they don't have the idea that other races are inferior, like nothing attached to like any stuff like that. I would like to think that these people aren't like that. Like Joel Webbon isn't like that. Brian Sauvé isn't like that. Eric Kahn personally isn't like that. But they keep on giving like these dog whistles and pats on the head and a blind eye to the things that make you really question, like, why are you okay with these things? Why are you okay when everyone else, when the denomination fires the guy, why are you still okay with having him speak at your conference for that? I think it fits their narrative of being like, oh, we're the conservatives who are being painted into a corner. We're the ones who are getting canceled because we're so based or whatever that means. Like that doesn't actually work though. Like that's not what we're supposed to be about. We're supposed to be about the gospel. We're supposed to be like the idea of defeating the age of this world, I think is worthwhile. But to put it into these terms that they do, you know, like trash world. Let's defeat trash world. America will either have Christ or it will have chaos. Fortunately, Christians are finally waking up to this reality. But now that we're awake, how then should we live? It was written by, a pastor. Like the way it's written and everything. It's like, well, only pastors talk like that, but okay. But they're just fine with having this guy, and they're gonna have the guy Steve Deuce. They're gonna have Stephen Wolfe, the guy who wrote the book that is very problematic. They're gonna have Andrew Eisker, who is out in like Tennessee trying to make a Christian nation unto himself, sounding all Mormon. But they got Dusty Devers, right? And he's the Christian nationalist that people seem to like. I don't know. But they're just going to have their little conference anyways, their little celebration of their Christian nationalism. It doesn't really matter. Now, I do want to give a couple little updates on this. I found it interesting. So this is coming out today, I believe, right? Is today the 3rd? Yeah, it was today. So this is some background. This is from the denomination that kicked out Calvin Robinson. And they say prior to September of 2024, Calvin Robinson was a priest of the Nordic Catholic Church, an old Catholic church based primarily in Scandinavia and the UK. In October of 2023, Robinson visited the ACC's Provincial Synod in Orlando, Florida, and subsequently expressed an interest in serving a parish in the U.S. After undergoing the necessary procedures, he was received in orders and licensed to serve at the parish of St. Paul's, Grand Rapids, Michigan. As of January 29, 2025, he had served in the ACC a little over 4 months. Not a great tenure. It was a very short time, and it didn't go great. Why did the ACC take action? When Robinson was received into the ACC, he was told that there was a distinction of offices between political activists and parish priests. His bishops made it clear to him that he had been received into the church to minister to a parish, and as such, he would have to eschew the provocative political behavior that characterized his prior career as a TV presenter, blogger, and social media influencer. He has not done so. And what happened at the National Right to Life Summit was not an isolated incident. I find it just so interesting that this denomination's like, we warned him. We warned him, and he continued to do it. We told him, hey, preach the gospel, according to them. Preach the gospel, be a pastor, serve your flock, and that's it. That's what you're supposed to do. You're not supposed to go on TV and be a representative. They even go as far as to say, like, hey, he is not to be a spokesman for the ACC. He does not represent all of our beliefs. This is very much like the new guy at work going up and being like, well, I've been here for a week. I think I'm ready to run the marketing for this place. Like, I think I can, I think I know what we're about here, and I can just, send that out to the world. Like, I could be the boss, essentially. And they're like, no, you cannot. So he has not been defrocked or deposed by the ACC. Those require an extended canonical process. He is still a priest and is free to return. So basically, he ain't serving here. He can serve somewhere else. We're not in charge of that. But he ain't serving here anymore. So very, very interesting that they decided to put that out. Probably under some pressure because he does have a lot of social media followers, and they're probably all going at him. And it's just very interesting that they are putting this out and just being like, hey, but isn't this the way it always goes with these guys? These guys always do this, where they're like, oh, I'm an expert on this. or I'm have this credibility, and you find out what the credibility is, and the credibility is almost nothing. Like again, like these guys act like they went to like it's Dale Partridge all over again, right? Of using deceptive language to communicate. I've been to school, like someone on Facebook going at him about Hebrew, and him going into the comment section and saying, after studying for 5 years, here's what I learned about Hebrew. When the guy, like, that's so deceptive because he doesn't know Hebrew. Like, he didn't take any Hebrew classes. And 5 years makes it seem like that's 5 years of intensive study. Like, you have a degree that's 5 years. Like, that's a long time in the postgraduate world. And for him to say like that, and then what he really means is that he's taken classes for over 5 years, but like it's one class here, another class there. Next semester, I think I have two classes. Like it's like that. And you're like, well, the credibility doesn't mean anything. That's what Calvin Robinson has done. And it just shows me once again that these people, they're all the same. When you choose politics over the gospel, you all sound the same, and you start to use the same methodology. You start to use the same practices. You start to use the same ways to advance yourself and tear people down and make it seem like you're someone that everyone needs to be listening to, when really you have no credibility on the subject and you really shouldn't be listened to on these things. And definitely you aren't coming from this place where you've been a priest for all this time within this denomination when it's been 4 months. Like this, it just keeps on happening. So there's another thing that I wanted to look at. Let's see. Is this something? This wasn't something. I think that was just me searching. Let's take a look at these angry looking people. I'm just always constantly surprised. They just look so angry. But this is an interesting clip that I saw from Right Response Ministries, and I think it says pretty much everything about where they're at right now and what kind of thoughts they're having about what they're trying to accomplish. Because like if it's not the gospel, then like where does it stop, right? Like what's your point? Like because there's always going to be another political hill to take. So like where are you going with this? And this is about their language, but I think there's more going on than just their language. Let's take a watch here.
A couple comments, because I think it serves as a good case study for everybody else. So I'm not really even talking to these individuals, because maybe the Holy Spirit could bring conviction and change their minds and persuade them, those kinds of things. God's sovereign. He can do whatever he wants to do. But I think, if I had to guess, they probably won't be persuaded, the two comments I'm about to read. But I think it serves as an example, as a larger case study for all of our other listeners to help them along in why we speak the way we do, why we use some of the rhetoric that we do, why we're, in terms of not just our theology, but our methodology. So a couple of the comments. HJM says, so much of Jesus' love coming through here, being sarcastic, with a smirky emoji. And then somebody named, the handle is JW.
Before any of you guys say it, none of these comments were me. Okay? I don't have some alternate account going and making comments.
I don't think it's James White, but JW says, the irony here is that you're just as damaging to the body of Christ as Sprinkle. You're just in the ditch on the other side of the road. So to both of those comments, my response would be, I don't really care, Margaret. And the reason why I say that is,
I don't. All right, like I know there's, we live in this meme world right now where, like, so much of what happens becomes like sound bites and, things that we can use to reference things. This Vance thing, apparently he was doing an interview and he said, like, I don't care, Margaret, or whatever. And I guess some of these conservatives are now running with that and they're using it in talking to whoever. It's odd to me. It's not a really Christian sentiment to be like, I don't value what you're saying. It's odd. But also, like, these two guys, what a weird thing. Again, like I've made my jokes about like the wide setup and everything, but I think I get it now because now he's got two guys that are yes men, and you could see that very much online. I've had some interactions with the fellow on the left. I don't know his name, um, but like he's come at me a couple times for different things, whatever. But it's just they're there to laugh. They're there to prop him up when he says crazy stuff, so that the audience goes, "Oh, he's not the only one thinking this." And it's just it's gross. It's gross. It's odd. It's, if you have people with you and they laugh at you or laugh at your jokes or whatever, that's fine. But when you say something like this, when really what's being talked about, because there was a clip that was going around of them using gay and saying like that's so gay and that's so gay and blah 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 blah, like as if it was 1994 and you were 12 years old. But they were going around saying that about everything, and these are the comments that they got. Christians who might like agree with a lot of the other things that they say, but like, why are you talking like this? Don't you care about your language? Don't you care about your testimony? Don't you care about the gospel? Like, why are you using this kind of language? And to basically just mock them, when these are probably legit Christians coming with legit issues and trying to be like, hey, do you not see what you're doing here? Like the one comment said, you're just going into the ditch on the other side of the road here, aren't you? And just to say, I don't care, Margaret. And apparently that's hilarious. But let's keep on
One,
watching.
it's funny, but two, that is the proper response. We have tried tolerance in our nation and in our culture for the past 70 years. And it has gotten us the dismembering of 70 million babies in their mother's womb. It has gotten us the chopping off of genitals of children. It has gotten us.
Don't let these guys fool you or anyone that is out there who might be like listening to some of their like political stuff. If you agree with their politics, okay. But let's remember the main point is about their language. And they're like, hey, we have tried it the other way. We've tried it the nice way, and it's resulted in all of this. Is that to like is it the language that's been the problem? Like there it wasn't because you weren't supposed to say that word from 1994 until now that's caused all of this. Also, it was pretty like I was in junior high and I'm pretty sure everybody used it. So like and that didn't stop it. This didn't stop, abortion or any other, pet political thing that they want to use as an excuse. What he's doing is basically just giving all these excuses for being like, oh, we have to be strong now. And being strong means I get to say what I want. And it's basically the whiniest thing I've ever heard, but hidden under the premise of this is why we lost. But what was really behind this, I think, is this weird grandeur that these people have, this Don Quixote effect of them thinking that they're like so important and that they're the ones who are going to turn the tide. Like these like I'm not saying all of Christian nationalists, but this specific branch of Christian nationalists, they talk about like being dragon slayers. And now I'm beginning to really question their sanity because they're making it seem like they are like the last hope, like because well, I guess if you're not going to be preaching the gospel and that actually is the hope of the world, then maybe you have to come up with something like this, some kind of weird narrative that you are the person that if you get to use the word gay to talk about someone and critique them and push them down, then that's going to make it so that abortion is gone. How does that make sense, folks? Like, that doesn't make any sense. It's just an excuse for them being childish, immature, and honestly a little bit hateful. And then, they just don't have to deal with that because they're the heroes. And, they tried it the other way, which they haven't been around for that. These guys act like they're like, what do they do? He was planting a church like in San Diego wearing flip flops 5 years ago. So like, what are you talking about? Like, have you tried to change anything? Like what? No, now he's the expert because he's got books behind him. Oh, but I only have movies. That shows you where my heart is.
Gay pride parades in New York City with men's genitalia hanging out and shaking around as parents holding their children on the sidelines, on the streets, watching this take place. It has gotten us a full-scale invasion of foreigners who worship foreign gods at our southern border, who come in illegally, many of them criminals, who not only take jobs from Americans who are trying to provide for their families, but also at an exponentially higher statistical rate, rape our wives and daughters. We are done being tolerant.
We are done not saying gay. What? Do you not see the gaslighting here? Like the gaslighting of being like, it's all about this stuff. But really, all he's doing is defending himself because people were offended at him acting like a 12-year-old and talking about how it's literally, all right, I'm going to say it. It's literally Beavis and Butthead, okay? That's what this stuff is. Just be, gay. Like it's that. It's that. But they did it, with books behind them. And then some people were offended. And now, it's like, oh, it's about, like, we want to win. And if we want to win, we need to use the harsh language. This isn't about harsh language. This is about hateful language and just dumb language. Like, oh, man. This is about, like, not being a 12-year-old, and he's making it into like this huge thing of, oh, this is how culture has gone.
We're done being tolerant. Jesus, when he fashions a whip of cords in John chapter 2 and begins to drive out the money changers, he is not putting gentleness to the side. He is embodying perfect gentleness, which is a fruit of the Spirit. Who's he being gentle to? He's being gentle to all the people who came from the four corners of the earth to worship God at a time, a covenantal time under the Old Covenant in Israel, where there was a geographic center for worship of God. They couldn't stay home. They couldn't just build their own churches. They must come to the temple. They've given up work for months, at least weeks. They've paid an incredibly high price for travel, and now they're trying to buy some pigeons or doves, one of the cheapest offerings that they could possibly give to God, the triune God, for the absolving of their sin, to receive his blessing.
What? Again, this is about you saying like a derogatory word, and you're just like, now he's talking about sacrifices. Like, he's not Jesus. This isn't Jesus. Like, Jesus didn't get, ticked at the Pharisees and started calling everyone these names. Like, no, this is not the same thing. This is him being called out for being immature, and now he's trying to make it seem like I'm not the immature one. This is like, and this is how you know a lot of these guys are fake. Doesn't this sound just like Paul Washer? Like, if you listen to this, listen to the way that he says things. I bet he listened to a lot of Paul Washer when he was young. And, like, yes, he's got the weird accent that we've talked about before. But listen to how he's
to receive his blessing, to renew steadfast covenant with him. They've already paid an exorbitant price, monetary price, just to be there. And now the Jewish religious rulers of that day are like a Chuck E. Cheese, but with a currency exchange that's going to rip them off. Instead of $1 giving you 4 tokens to play the games, it's only going to give you 1. They're saying your Gentile money's no good here. You have to exchange it for the temple currency, and they.
So he lost everyone. Like that's a pastor who ranted too long about something he thought was interesting. Um, but that's what it is. He's he is manipulating people, gaslighting them, into being like, it's okay for me to use whatever language I want. You shouldn't be offended because, I'm about the political things that you want, and this is just Jesus, flipping over tables and getting the whip out. And yeah, I agree. Please don't bring Chuck E. Cheese into this. But that's what he's doing, and it's all covering him and his failures up on like failures behind like this faux war of the culture and all this the 70 years, even though for a long time a lot of the things that he said was fine, and it's just been the last few years that he can't say his favorite words apparently, and so now he's going to throw a fit and put out a 6-minute rant about how he should be able to use it because I don't care, Margaret. Okay, okay. Um, so there's that. So let's go to the end and see if there's anything else more interesting once he gets done trying to compare himself to Jesus.
No more gay Bibles.
Oh,
No more of this bullcrap. We're done. We love Christ. We love his people.
I forgot about that part. Yeah, I found it pretty funny the first time I watched it. Of like he's arguing for like we need to be able to use harsh language, like I should be able to say what I say. Enough of this bull crap. He wanted to say it. He wanted to, but he knew it would not go well for him. Other stuff apparently he's fine with saying, but not that one. So he almost did, but you could tell he backed off on that. But I mean, like if you're real about it, then why shouldn't you? Right? Like if you're like, this is how we win by being aggressive, and then you're like, enough of this baloney. Reminds me of Fundy World, where I was listening to a sermon, and throughout the entire sermon, there was a pastor who, like, he grew up obviously in a bubble, and he said, "When I was young, we had a saying: paybacks are terrible." and, and he constantly used that throughout the sermon, and he's like, "You guys all know it, right? Paybacks are terrible." It's like, no, that's not the saying, bud. but he can't use the other one.
And we love our country.
Or should he? I'm not arguing.
And we make no apology. You want nice? Tune into the Gospel Coalition. Tune into Christianity Today. Go follow Beth Moore. Go follow Russell Moore. Go follow Preston Sprinkle. This is not the channel for nice. This is the channel for love. The love of Christ that includes welcoming in little children so that he might bless them, and fashioning a whip of cords when his people are being oppressed. So go touch grass, log off.
All right, the clock is running out. You need to go and register now for our
You
Christ
need to register. So that's what's going on in Webbon's world, where he thinks he's like he thinks he's at Helm's Deep, like because they love their Lord of the Rings. So I'll use a reference they can understand. They think they're all at Helm's Deep, like this is our moment, getting on the horses, about to ride out into battle. See, I know some of this stuff. I've watched it enough because my wife loves it. But like that's what they think is going on, when really like they're like that weirdo, creepy guy who like is whispering to the King of Rohan and like manipulating them. That's really what they're like. But they think that they're all like the hero about to ride in and save the day from the orcs and trash world and all of that. And they're going to do it by any means necessary, which means calling someone gay. So there's that. So that's some of the stuff that I found interesting this week. I'll see what you guys think. Maybe you guys are like, he's out for lunch. I don't know. I haven't been looking, except for Chuck E. Cheese got me. Let's go up a little bit. Folks, it's worth it to stay single if you know you've never married a man who's like this. Ooh, yeah, don't marry a guy like that. This guy can't even exegete scripture correctly. Well, um, depends who you ask. Well, I've made my positions on some things kind of clear over the last few years. Honest Youth Pastor, who has watched the show a few times and interacted. Um, I don't know if he watches all the time. But Honest Youth Pastor thinks that he preached a good sermon. And then I just saw a review that he did of Brian Sauvé, in which he said, I don't know anything about this guy. I know that he gets on into online fights and whatever, but this sermon was solid. That was his big takeaway, and I just find it super odd when people do that. Guys, don't follow discernment ministries that do that kind of stuff. Of like, I don't know who this is, but this was okay. One sermon, anyone can preach a good sermon. Anybody can. I'm sure you can find tons of sermons from the Pope, or at least from popes of the past. You could read those sermons, and I'm sure some of them are bangers. Um, but that doesn't mean he's not a heretic. Like, that doesn't mean he's right about everything. And I'm just getting tired of people looking at some things online, but not being willing to do like get their hands dirty and go deeper on the stuff. If you're not willing to do that with some of these teachers, just don't talk about them, because you're going to like be like elevating somebody who shouldn't be elevated. And I just saw that the other day. It annoyed me. But yeah, this Joel Webbon doesn't exegete scripture well. Tim says, why do they always bring up the one Jesus story to justify their own crummy behavior? Yeah. Also, like, it wasn't like Jesus did something and then got angry at other people. It was someone else who was sinning, and Jesus like got in there and took care of their stuff. He wasn't like he said something, he's like, the reason why you can't handle it, and then flips tables. Like that. It's always weird how it's like they do something, and then people get upset about that thing, and then all of a sudden it's Jesus flipping the tables. Like, what? Why is it always that way? True leaders lead. They don't gin up their followers for God knows what. Yeah, they do lead. That's a pretty gross redefining of Jesus cleansing the temple. Instead of clearing out religious grifters, it's now about controlling sinful people outside of religion. Yep. But that's what they do. They keep on switching all this stuff. 111 people watching, 32 likes. LOL, the embodiment of gentleness is checks notes Joel Webbon. Says him and no one else, except for maybe the two guys who are paid to smile and laugh at his jokes. And probably other things, but it's just, it's never funny. I don't know. Like, sometimes I just get so confused at what other people find funny. Like, I know not all of my humor is for everybody, and it takes like a certain kind of person. Some would say a really broken person to find me funny. But I'm just constantly surprised by what other people think is funny. And I'm just like, why is this funny? I don't get it. Right? What did Charles do to him? Interesting. Yeah. Charles Cheese. Imagine receiving a phone call from someone who sounded like that. I think that's the plot of a couple horror movies. This is just Doug's serrated edge theology working itself out. Say whatever you need to say to win. Yeah. Yeah. It's, how can I make this more grandiose in order to be like, now I've guilted you into thinking that I'm right because I went as far as I could. And but I get to use the language that I want to be able to win. But I mean, like, even with Doug, it's not like, is it childish? Yes, Doug Wilson's language in the past has been childish, but I at least understand like what he was doing with some of his language. Like with these guys, there's no like real thought behind it. Like, and again, especially with this situation, like it's because they were just like being like 12-year-olds and using words that, a lot of people would find offensive now, but they all did it when it was, 1999 and they were in 11th grade. But, like they just want it to go back to 1999. Is that what it is? Is this just real like nostalgia once again, where you just want it to be how it was when you were a teenager? I just don't get it. I guess Webbon has tossed the whole salt and light thing out the window. Yeah, who needs that? Who needs that? It probably, what happened was the salt and light was sitting on the table and it got flipped over. Like the table got flipped over, salt and light, it actually went out the window. Like it just got flipped so far. Did you get my jokes? Okay, I'm moving on. Webbon, now it's time for you to buy our stuff and donate to our ministry. Right? It's always so funny. Like some of these things where they like end it where it's just like, this is serious. And then it's just like, hey guys, do you like coffee? What? Reminds me of like something you would see on like Blade Runner or something, like making fun of TV. Or not Blade Runner, Fifth Element. They want America to be the Handmaid's Tale so bad. It would make it a lot easier for clothing choices, for sure. My pastor used to say his favorite Greek word was bologna. Bologna. I'm pretty sure that's how it is. I took school for so long that I know it's bologna. Joel Webbon and all the Theo Bros, for that matter, strike me as people who have no real problems in their lives. Like, I'm sure they do. But make no mistake about it. Like, these guys aren't in like the actual trenches of real life. They're in the trenches of, I spend 7 hours a day on X. Like the trenches are online for them and they think it's normal and it's not. And it never will be. Like, guys, what happens online matters, but it doesn't matter as much as what you might think, or definitely what these guys think. It doesn't matter. Like, what happens in real life matters so much more. And that's why, again, celebrities who are physical celebrities will always be more important than these guys with their online stuff. Someone who's been on TV will always be more famous than some guy on YouTube. It's just the way it is. And so these guys, they think that they could just make it big on YouTube and that's going to cement their, place in the world. It won't. No, it won't. Because those legacies don't last. We have shows that we watch and they fade away. Right? It's like streaming. A movie that comes out on streaming might be famous for a weekend, but people won't remember about it, 2 years later. All right, unless it's a movie like They Clone Tyrone, because that's a good movie. But anyways, his Register Now voice is way less creepy, maybe because he's being genuine about what he wants. Yeah, and he's not manipulating there in the same way. Like, he's manipulating in a different way to be excited. And, if you're excited, people are more inclined to buy. But also, I think that's probably just him being a little bit more himself than, I think this and everything is the worst. And if you don't support me, if you keep on critiquing me, you're really critiquing Jesus. No. Webbon is acting more and more unhinged, 100%. They're literally just Don Quixote at the tilting at windmills. Yeah, this is very small font. Now, I have everything on my Mac now. Like, you guys want to know a sad story? I broke my monitor. I was moving some things around, and it fell and it got shattered. So now I'm on just the 13-inch MacBook, and it's a sad day for me. Honestly, I think it's persecution. Persecution from my elbow pumping my monitor off. All right, I'll stop. That's the guy who whispers to the king. Yeah, that guy. They think they're at Helm's Deep, but they're really the Simpsons meme, old man yells at cloud. That's way better than what I said. Let's just take out what I said and put in that, and that's way better. Okay, so now it's fine to pal around with an old Catholic priest. but with overwhelmingly Catholic Mexicans worship foreign gods. Yeah. I don't really understand that part, to be honest, because I think that what he was trying to be like, because he said this about Hindus. Oh, we shouldn't, like, they're against foreigners coming in to North America, or like for them, United States, and bringing their religion with them. Um, I don't know how they think the nation got founded, because that's exactly what they did. And for a long time, there was actually a lot of debate, and hostility, from Catholics to Protestants. Like, that didn't just end in Europe. Like, that was like even Anglicans, because they were still serving the crown, right? Like, so Anglicans and Baptists and Congregationalists, and like a lot of these Puritans, there were some issues. There were some issues early on, but they don't know any of that stuff. And so they just go, well, they're all foreign gods, and that's the way that we can get around saying that we don't want anyone who looks different from us to come into this nation. Um, I wish it was different. Maybe a couple years ago, I'd be like, that's a bridge too far. But I think we've learned at this point that's just who these people are. But I didn't mean to rhyme, by the way. Okay, I'm back. Well, you missed some. You missed some, but that's okay. Honest youth pastors shouldn't be cracking the door open to those guys. Yeah. I don't like going on here and being like, I disagree with this guy, but I was just like, saw it, and I watched the beginning and I watched the ending, and I was just like shocked. And this was my main critique with that guy, because he got on the map for the John MacArthur stuff, and going at Julie Royce and some of the things that she was saying, and some of it was agreeing, but he had zero understanding about what ACBC was, even though that was a huge part of that story. And like, didn't do the research, had zero idea about it, and just kept on talking. And it's just, guys, don't make content just to make content. Like, if you don't know about something, then just don't talk about it. Like, he does sermon reviews. Cool. Like, not my jam, but lots of other people like those, I bet. Talk about somebody else. Go find someone that you do know. Don't pick someone because he's famous, because it'll get clicks, and then be like, I don't know anything about this guy other than he's controversial, and I'm not going to look into the controversy, but here he is. But that's also what Ruslan does. He has all these people on his show. He had Joel Webbon on his show. He's probably not going to apologize for that. Like, they just have these people on. They don't care about the ramifications. They elevate people and they just walk away. Well, it was a good sermon. Okay, cool. I'm sure Satan said some pretty cool things, like that one time. Like, he likes Satan. Did you hear him? I can't believe he likes Satan. However, I've noticed Honest Youth Pastor social media content has shifted a little towards this type of thinking. Yeah, I think he's kind of cozied up to some of these guys for sure. And again, like, I'm not saying he knows stuff and then is doing stuff anyways and he's supporting that stuff, but ignorance, like, just, you can't be ignorant with these people. You got to, like, know what you're talking about, and if it's super problematic, just go away from it.
Dad,
Yes?
can I have the iPad?
Is the movie over?
Yeah.
I'll be up in a couple minutes. Can you imagine what the deconstruction from the stuff is going to look like in about 10, 15 years? I don't know. I don't know what that's going to look like, because do they have any converts? Like, it's the thing. Like, these guys are huge online, but like, their churches are small. Like, their actual impact is small. Their publications that they're starting, guys, these are not Doug Wilson's. Not all of these guys are Doug Wilson and able to build a little kingdom for himself and be able to build a publishing branch and, like, do all these things and have actual talented people come in and start building, like, websites and stuff like that. That's not these guys. They're all fumbling their way around Squarespace and around theology too, and like just kind of making random things. And it's not like it's going well online as far as followers go for the main guys. But I mean, like, you look at these videos when they're not talking about mermaids. This thing only has 9,000 views. It's been 3 days. This is a channel of 120,000 views. Like, that's kind of small numbers, isn't it? Like, because when they don't do the thing that gets like the momentum, when they're not all giving like the opinions of like, oh, that guy is the worst, or we're for this really specific thing that everybody loves. I don't know. What is really, when it's not about patriarchy, right? Like, patriarchy is huge for these guys, right? So when they talk about patriarchy, I'm sure the numbers go up for them. But it's not all across the board. It's when they do those specific things. And eventually, people will get tired of hearing those things. So I view them as a threat, which is why we talk about these things on this channel. But I don't think that you're going to have like the fallout of like the Young Restless Reform movement, because that was a real movement. And I'm still, like, again, Christian nationalism as a whole, I think, is a little bit different because you have very like political stuff involved with that. But this specific branch of Christian nationalism with Right Response Ministries and the Ogden guys and stuff like that, I don't think it's a movement. I think it will die. I think it's going to be big online for a little while still, but it's just going to slowly die, especially now that they've so differentiated themselves from Doug Wilson, that if that continues, I think that they're just going to dwindle further and further because they're not compelling enough. And you got to have, if you're going to have something like that, of what Doug Wilson has built, you got to be compelling. That's what he is. I don't like him. I don't like what he does, but he is compelling as a person. And so I think that has really helped him. My voice is about to go. Notice how little they reference the Sermon on the Mount. They only reference the flipping of the tables. Yes, because convenient for them. Back to life, back to reality, right? Glass Onion is probably the best of the direct-to-streaming movies.
No! It's just dumb.
Yeah, actually. Yeah. Trying to think of other ones. Like, none of them are great. Like, Glass Onion is great, and They Clone Tyrone is great. Not as good as Glass Onion, but it's up there. But then after that, it's like you fall off a cliff. The Adam Project was kind of fun, right? Like that one. That's the Ryan Reynolds one, right? With like the kid. I like that one. I'll say it again. It's all a show, folks. 100%. What's up, Joseph? Hope you're doing well. Let's go. Every time you Calvin Robinson, I'm reminded the energy vampire from What We Do in the Shadows, Colin Robinson. Okay. I got to know Honest Youth Pastor a bit when he and Tim from TNE would debate. My initial impression was Honest Youth Pastor is really entrenched and overconfident in his beliefs, opinions. Yeah, I think I would agree with that. My main thing, like, I don't watch the guy's content, and I don't want to be like a hater for someone that I don't watch a whole lot. But my main thing was just like, if you're going to talk about something, like, you don't have to be an expert on it, but you got to know it. Like I'm not an expert on Calvin Robinson, but I did my research on him before I started talking about him. I just think that's an important part. Like, I know a lot of this stuff is just us giving our opinions, and like, my opinion is no better than anyone else's on the internet. But it's my opinion, and I want to share it. But it's like, you gotta at least do a little bit of research on some of this stuff if you're going to be talking about it, especially when you're going to be really, like, because a lot of the stuff like from that world and like his channel too, it's very much like, this is the right thing. This is the right way to preach. This is the wrong way to preach. This is the truth. And if you're going to do that, you need to know what you're talking about. So, That's my thoughts. Now that's the only thing people are going to remember about this stream because I talked about a YouTuber. So thanks for hanging out with me. I got to go put on another movie for the kids or something. I don't know. What do you do to entertain sick kids? Can't let them play. You got to rest. I don't know. Being sick's no fun. Anyways, I'll see you guys next time. Have a great rest of your Monday, and I will try to be back in the future. Did you like the microphone? Would you rather have it be? Would you rather have it be this microphone? That's a question. That's a question that I would like you to answer. But I will be back in the future, most likely. Who knows? Goodbye.